Hi everybody, I'm Marcia McCarrow.
Hello everyone, I'm Carol Cooper.
And we're going to be discussing the next set of 5 interviews that we've done in the series called Just Take a Minute. And those 5 videos are Chris Sweeney, who was the Senior Manager from Health and Social Care, now retired. Claire Haye, the musical director, Canto Ladies Choir, and the chamber choir that's associated with it.
Yeah.
Julie Ledbitter, who has her own holistic therapy centre, Ilkeston Serenity Holistic Therapies.
Yeah.
Siobhan Fennell, BEM, which is the British Empire medal holder. And Siobhan runs an organisation called Accessible Belper, which I called Accessible Derbyshire all the time through her interview.
In Derbyshire. In Derbyshire.
It's in Derbyshire, but it's Accessible Belper.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then finally, we had Sam Culshaw Robinson from the Live Well practice, which is based in Nottingham. And Sam is a hypnotherapist coach as well. And she runs another practice called the Work Well practice as well, doesn't she?
She does,
which is also based in Nottingham as well. So that's fantastic. So again, 5 very different interviews with very different feel, a very different feel for each of them. Would you agree?
I totally agree. I think through all the interviews, and obviously we did the summary last time of 1 to 5, but I've always come away from each and every interview feeling different and either related, really enjoyed. Always something nice that we've come away from. So yes, absolutely. I think we've been very lucky because they've been very varied, and our chosen people have come through 100%.
Yeah. So where do you think we should start then? Where do we start this time round in terms of what we want to discuss and what we want to look at?
I think question 1, did we ask all the questions that we needed to ask? Did we cover all aspects of the 1 to 5 interviews?
Yeah.
I think to a great degree, yes, we did. There could be some areas where we could have broadened it, or we could have maybe, asked a question or 2 more. But again, that's us learning, isn't it? But I think overall, I think we got the best part of the best out of all 1 to 5. I think it was, I just think people responded to our questions and the way we asked them.
Yeah. I do think there was a question that I asked Chris Sweeney about religion.
Yes.
And I wish that looking back on that, I would have maybe pressed a bit more on that question, because you said afterwards, sort of like, it might have been good to go into that, dig into that a bit more. And I think we had a discussion about it, didn't we, afterwards? And yes, when I look back at that interview, and I look back at the questions and how I skipped over that, so I pranced over that bit, because he came back and said, well, so he said something along the lines of, well, we could go into a debate about spirituality and religion, but I'm not going to. And I said, yes, that would be good, but I didn't press that, and that would have been really good to go that bit deeper. But I do think since then I have pressed people more about their answers.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure why I let that go, to be fair. I'm not sure why I didn't do it on that one.
Well, I think for all the reasons why. I mean, Chris, I would have thought, knowing him, that he wouldn't have not wanted to answer it, but I think he would have been more guarded by the time factor, and that did you want more from him, perhaps?
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
he didn't cut it out. He just either, you know, pulled it back. It's always for round 2.
I should have pressed on that one. That's what I'm saying about the questions that when I look back and I think I could have gone a bit deeper on this one, that is the one where I maybe should have pushed a bit harder on that to get a bit more information about that. So I think that's quite an interesting part of it's a massively interesting part of his life. He was training to be an Anglican priest, and then he
totally
changed direction completely. And so that would have been really good to go there, really, and have a discussion about that difference between religion and spirituality. So for me, that would be the missing
question that you're asking about. I don't have that at all. I'm most of stuff that maybe I thought perhaps we could have asked. In my mind, I've always thought, well, we will go back to these people and we will, you know, but this is us now talking about what we did at the time. So this is the important thing. And I agree with you. You know, there's been other subjects on other interviews that I could have done the same. So not on these 5, strangely enough. I don't have anything that I really, and I'm sure I must have done. But I get that embroiled when they're telling me their story, and you're really into it, aren't you? And you go, oh my goodness, did they really? Oh heavens, you know. I think admiration overtakes an awful lot of what you would really, really want to push them on. I
don't think I lost my way on any of these 5 interviews, I don't think, but I think on the ones coming up, because of just what you've just said about getting into the story, getting into what they're telling us and into the information, I've forgotten where I was in the sequencing of the question.
We do.
Completely forgot what I was there for. And went off on a tangent. Well, not on a tangent. I was interested, so I was following the theme of what they were saying and threw in some additional questions here and there, which I know left you a little bit sort of like, what's she doing? Where is she? I can't follow
where we're going with this. Then I picked up on that and fully understood why, of course. But
it's so interesting.
But that's the whole idea. This is the whole exciting bit, isn't it? You know, we're wanting to know what we're asking the question on, but they're giving such wonderful answers, and they're really getting into it. So makes it exciting.
Absolutely. So how do you think the interviews are going to make a difference to people out there that are watching them?
That fundamentally is an extremely good question, because it takes us back to the reasons why we started to do this. And I think you and I always like to share knowledge and support people. So principally, that's where I think these interviews are taking us, and the interviews are taking themselves. So when people go onto all our sites, YouTube and Facebook and everything, they can just have a summary on what these people are talking about, and then they can select what they think will be good for them. So I think the fact that you and I started this because we want to share and we want to enhance people's lives, I think that's how these interviews will make a difference long term. Because people hopefully will look back on them and say, I learned from that, and I'm here today and doing what I'm doing today because that helped me along. I'm not saying it's got all the tools, and it won't have, but it's got a lot of the tools, and a lot of what I know is genuine support for people out there who need it.
I think because of the range of the interviews that we've done so far as well, from people that are just starting out. So we had Julie Ledbitter, just starting out. I think she's a year or so, or maybe a bit longer now into running her therapy practice. So listening to her tale about the struggles and how she's overcome some of those struggles will be useful for anybody starting up, I hope, in their own practice. And I know we've had one person already who said actually that was her favourite interview because of what the subject matter was, the holistic therapies. And she nearly missed that because there was no write-up of about what the interview was about. So she just thought she'd click onto it for a few minutes just to see, and saw that it was about holistic therapies, and thought, you know what, I'll actually, watch it, sit down and watch it. But very nearly
missed it completely.
And I do think about that a lot, CC. I do think about the number of people that are just maybe just skimming past, haven't got time at the moment. I mean, a lot of people have got more time maybe at the minute to sit and watch them. But I do think about the time frame. It works for us, and it works for the people we're interviewing. But I don't know. In fact, I've not had anybody come back and say that they're too long as such. But the fact that people are skimming over them maybe tells us that they're quite long. I don't know. I'm just thinking that through. I don't think they can be any shorter because we won't be able to get any information out of them. I don't know. What do you?
I mean, my feeling is that because of life is on speed anyway. That's how people live their lives, and everything. Everyone or most people want everything done in like 20 seconds. This can't be done in a short time. It's got to be real, and it is. So that's one part of it. It's got to be sincere, and it is. It's got to be reasonably in depth, or why are we doing it?
Yeah.
And for all of those reasons, I don't think 15 to 20 minutes out, if somebody's really, really keen or lost their way, and they start listening to what we're saying and what we're talking about, I don't think that's a long time. I know it's easy for us to say because we go through the interviews, we're asking the questions, we're listening to the answers, and then we're summarising. So all our time's taken up, and I get that. So just a fresh pair of eyes. I mean, my family have listened to them all in Australia, and they're the biggest critics on the planet, and they've never come back and said, "Oh, Auntie C, you do waffle on a bit." They haven't, and I know.
That's good.
You know what I mean? Because yes, people do, don't they? But I'm talking about my critics. I'm not talking about generally. I mean, that was just really a bit of fun more than anything. But no, I don't see us shortening them. I don't want to, in the fact that I think we'll lose something if we do.
Yeah.
Keep them interesting because they are, and the questions are great, and there hangs a tale. I don't think we should.
The other thing for me that comes out of them is the area of managing change, whether that be personal or organisational change. A lot of it is about personal change, isn't it? How people have transitioned from one part of their life to another. And that's one of the things that I want to go back and talk to Chris Sweeney about in the part 2. I've already asked him about that because that was his field anyway, helping organisations to transition through change. But we know, don't we, that it's not organisations, the bricks and mortars, that transitions through change. It's the people within the bricks and mortar that transition through change. So it'd be interesting to talk to him a bit more in depth about that work that he's done in the past. But also we didn't touch on, was it the blanket or the quilt or he talked about a concept.
The concept was the patchwork quilt.
Yes, so we need to go back to him and ask him more about that, because again, that's one of the things that we didn't ask about, that we should have really pulled out a bit more, really. And it was, I recognise at that point it was about time factor, wasn't it? That we was probably running out of time, and we weren't sure how long that description was going to take. But that's something we need to go back to because it's very informative. I'm sure it'd be helpful.
So going back again, we shouldn't, be shortening our time.
Yeah. Which questions did you like the most and why?
Wow. Where the questions talking about change, as we just have a few moments ago, it was the questions about change and how people recognised it and the bravery that took them forward. It made my heart, rise a bit and recognise some things in my life where, I've had a few changes, not always out of choice, but, changes anyway. So it was mainly about the determination, the change in attitude, because if you don't change attitude when you change, you're not really changing, are you? You're just moving along to something else. So I got that from a lot of the questions, because not that all the questions were the same meaning, but some of the answers came back in a similar fashion. So whatever we asked, we still got what we needed, but there was an awful lot of underlying determination and self-awareness. I got that very much, so the questions around that in particular, and forgive me if I may, because I just want to get the wording right, please, just to so again, we asked a question about managing change, and the persons that we asked, which were more than one, were clearly well rehearsed in change, and we asked, did they think they were good at what they did, and were they successful at what they did? So it's all about these stories that were my favourite types of questions. So, I mean, I could pick out loads of them, because I do enjoy a lot of the questions, and it's really hard to actually name one, but to actually, that sort of question to me, that they were well rehearsed in the managing and planning of change, and how do they think they did, to me was one of my favourite questions, because it made them recognise something about them.
I mean, I really like the question on the superpower.
Oh, yeah.
So what's your business superpower? Because we talk about that a lot, and we talk about that a lot when we're talking about other people. So we will say such and such has got, that's his superpower. So I really do like the question. I'm really pleased we added that one in.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I also like the question that we asked Sam Culshaw Robinson, about the different years, a different stage, to reflect on a 10-year-old her.
Yeah.
I think it was the 20 and the 40-year-old her, and what she came up with in terms of answers. That was a really nice question, because in different stages of our lives we change. And I think Claire Delahaye also, she didn't get that question because we wrote that question for Sam.
Yes.
But Claire Delahaye alluded to the same sort of thing, that when she wished that her younger self, that she told her younger self to buckle down a little bit and to concentrate more and focus more, because it's so much harder to do some of the things she's trying to do now when you're older, which we all know, hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? So that one about different stages in life. And also I like the one about the questions about defining success.
Yes, that was one of my, I like that too.
Yeah. So, how would you define it? And also then by your description or definition, depending on what they said, sometimes it was more of a description rather than a definition. Would you consider yourself to be successful? So it was interesting to hear the answers. And I think for everybody so far, they've given their description stroke definition and then said, yes, I do, by that I do consider myself to be successful. A couple of like sat back and thought about it for a little while, but then, you know, come out and said, yes, that's really heartwarming, isn't it, to hear people talk about success in that sort of way, really, that, and how they see themselves. The other side of that is around the sacrifices they've made.
Absolutely. That's, yeah, the change. Yeah, like I said,
and yeah, it links into what you were saying about change, really, because I think it was around that area, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But the sacrifices they've made. So yeah, I've really enjoyed those particular questions, really. And we've not asked the superpower one to everybody, but we have asked it to a few of late.
Of late, yeah.
And I think Sam might have been the first person that we asked that question to, actually.
I think it was. Looking at here, yeah, it was.
And she talked about her superpower being adaptability, and I think she's absolutely bang on with that one. To be fair, when I think about her and what she does,
yes, agree with
and how she, you know, she adapts to what, you know, what's going on out there. I know we're in a particular time now, but even before then, you know, watching her posts and seeing how she adapts to things, that is definitely her superpower. I think we have more than one superpower.
Yes.
But I do think that's, you know, one of Sam's superpowers.
And I also, if I may, just wanted to add about the question, you know, that we asked, I think most people, but, you know, if you had your time again, what would you do differently? And that, to me, links into all of the, when I was 10, when I was 20.
Yeah.
Like what Claire rightly said, she wishes she'd knuckled down earlier on. So do a lot of people, so do I, in particular. You know, I wish I thought I did reasonably well leaving school with all my O levels, but, you know, where does that always take you? You know, not necessarily into the job that you want. It does prove a point that you can read a book and study.
Yeah.
But, you know, which is great, because that's all part of the world. But I just thought that was an interesting question in particular, you know, about all about reflection, because if you think you've got your time over again, brings in all sorts of things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Crumbs, what would I do? Would I be doing what I'm doing now? Crikey, what will I reflect on? What, you know, if I lived in the same house, where, you know, what would I be doing in the same town? And you don't know. It's all ifs, buts, and maybes. But it's an interesting question because I think people, they're not always ready for that one. Although it's a one that people do ask, you know, it's not an uncommon question. But to the individual that we ask, they're thinking, oh dear, where will I go from? I just liked it because it brought in all sorts of levels from all the other questions. Yeah, as well. Yes. I just enjoyed that.
Yeah, reflecting can be a powerful tool as long as people are using it in a constructive way and in a way to push themselves forward and think, you know, realistically about the situation, rather than using it as a tool to beat themselves up with. That, you know, when you get on that hamster wheel and you get stuck on that hamster wheel around reflection, and it becomes quite, you know, too introspective, and you're not actually doing anything constructive with it. But we designed the questions in such a way that we got some really good meaty answers, really.
We did.
Around it. As well as people saying, actually, I'm happy with what I did in the past. I don't like to look back and think about what I'm going to change, because I am where I am, and I'm going to move on from that point, and that's okay too. That's okay too.
Yeah, as long as you're going forward, you know, that's great. Marcia, on the other side of the scale,
have I lost sound?